Hello everyone, welcome back to the second installment of the Ponds Read Aloud. So if you watched part one, you've seen me get through a little more than half of the book. And so if you haven't watched that yet, please go back to that. Watch that first so you can see the first bit of information. Now, so it's a new day. If you watch the other video, you've noticed I'm in different clothes, like it's a totally different day. So I'm actually going to look through my informational reading progression again and look at some new skills. For the first half of the book, I was really focused on monitoring to make sure it all made sense, so checking my comprehension as well as my fluency. But today I want to work on something different. So to do that, I'm going to get my learning progression and take a look at what I might want to focus on for my reading today. All right, here it is. Here's my informational reading progression. I've worked on these skills, orienting and envisioning a lot. Here's what I was working on yesterday, monitoring for sense and fluency. I'm gonna kind of keep going here. I think I'm gonna just work my way down the list here. And today I'm gonna work on word solving here. So when I still don't recognize a word, even if I've tried to say it, I look to see if the author has given a definition or example to help me figure out the meaning. So that's what I'm gonna focus on. I know a lot of times in informational texts, there might be a glossary or it might have the word definitions in it. So I'm going to keep my eyes out for that. So word solving. And also I want to work on building vocabulary. So, I guess I kind of already did this a little bit because I'm keeping a list of pond expert words, right? So, I guess I'm already doing that. Let me find something I haven't yet done. Main idea and supporting details. So I'm going to take a chunk of the text and try to identify the main idea and then some of the supporting details. Yeah, that's what I'm going to work on, word work and main idea details. Let me write that down in my notebook. Okay, I have my notebook ready to go. I wrote out the title, the date, my goals. I have my pen, obviously. I have my book here, and I have sticky notes. So I am totally ready to read. Let me find the page that we left off on. I'm just going to quickly review the pages just to get my brain ready to read. This is orienting. So we started with a quiet moment, right? I remember I did some good fluency work on that page. And then it was telling me more about ponds, and I remember there was an important fact that they dry up if they get left alone. Then there was a lot of information about what a pond actually is. It was shallow, freshwater, muddy at the bottom. Yep. It told me about the plants, some of the other animals that live in there. Then there was the life in a pond, so it was talking about the ecosystem in a pond. Tracking my pond expert words, there they are. I noticed that there was some tables on different pages, so the author is using the same type of structure to give us information. That's something I noticed about the text. And here we are, a pond's life cycle. Many things in nature are part of a cycle. A cycle is something that follows from start to finish and back again. It repeats over and over. Living things have a life cycle. They are born, they grow up, they have children and die. The children become adults. This is the cycle. Seasons are a cycle. Day and night are part of a cycle too. You probably know the life cycle of many pond animals. For examples, frogs begin at eggs, then become tadpoles, then they grow legs, they lose their tails, then they become adult frogs, then they lay eggs, and the cycle starts again. The pond itself is part of a cycle too. So this was something that in the beginning, yesterday when I started reading this, I wrote down the question, how can a pond have a life cycle? I was curious about that. So ding, 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 my brain's kind of going off saying, pay attention to this part because you're curious about it. So there's also this energy web. One of the most common cycles in nature is an energy web. Every living thing has energy. At each stage of the energy web, energy is passed from one thing to another. So an insect may eat bacteria. A fish may eat the insect, a bird may eat the fish, a mammal may eat the bird, then the mammal may die and bacteria will decompose the mammal's body. The cycle of energy goes on and on. Okay. There is lots of activity in a pond during the spring and summer. Insects buzz, birds nest, fish swim, mammals roam. The pond is full of growing plants. The water is aerated or rich with oxygen. In the winter, the weather may turn very cold. In some places, it freezes. Ponds are shallow, so all of the water may freeze. The oxygen gets used up. The life in a pond will rest, go away, or die. When the weather warms up, the pond will thaw. Wind may stir up the water. New water may flow or rain into the pond. The pond becomes aerated in this way. The plants grow and grow again. Animals return to their pond home. Wow, okay, so this is making more sense now. That like the cycle of a pond kind of goes with the animals that live in it, but also the seasons. And so the pond goes through changes and the cycle repeats itself over and over again. I think this is the main idea in details I want to identify and write down. That was one of my goals today. So I'm going to start that now. So a lot of times when we're doing reading, a title will give us the main idea, right? Everything in this chapter is about a pond's life cycle. So when I'm thinking about the main idea and details, I already have my main idea from that heading. So from here, I want to take some notes. I wonder what the best way to take these notes would be. Maybe, and I'm going to refer back to the text to find some of these details that support this main idea. So here I've kind of summarized this chapter, this part of the book, thinking about the main idea, which was the pond's life cycle. And I noticed that it kind of followed the seasons, right? So in spring, the plants grow, the animals nest. Then it turns to winter, right? Spring, summer. Maybe I'll put that. Then in winter, the weather turns cold. Then it makes the water freeze or oxygen gets used up. The life may die or rest. Then the weather gets warm again and the pond will thaw, new water rains or collects, and then the plants grow. So it's this cycle that keeps going around and around. Main idea, details. Ponds may go through another kind of cycle as well. Ponds are fragile. That means they may change easily. A healthy pond is filled with plants and animals. The healthier it becomes, the more plants and animals grow. Dead plants and animals begin to fill the bottom of the pond. Dirt and mud may fill the bottom as well. More plants grow in all the nutrients. Over time, the pond fills in. It becomes part of the marsh that is all around it. In time, the plants may die away, and water may fill the hole again. Then a new pond may form. In nature, you can count on some cycles. For example, day always follows night. But you never know when a pond will form or when it will become something else altogether. Okay, now here's this section, a little pop out, and it says let me chunk it. Here is where I'm going to need some word work, some word solving strategies. And I'm going to read on a little bit to see if this can make sense to me. That word may grow thickly in pond. It's a plant-like living thing that can create a lot of oxygen in a pond. It is red, green, or brown in color, and it can be as tiny as one little cell or as giant as seaweed. Well, because I know that I'm focusing on word work, I've noticed this one thing the author has put in. Let me show you. This, there it is called a pronunciation guide. Sometimes when words are hard to pronounce, the author, zoom in, the author will include this pronunciation guide, which is in parentheses. So we can see it's ALG. J-E-E is how it's pronounced. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. So now we can read it easily. Algae may grow thickly in ponds. Algae is a plant-like living thing that can create a lot of oxygen in a pond. It is red, green, or brown in color. Algae can be as tiny as one cell or as large as giant seaweed. Okay, this is where I've done some word work. I'm going to take a note of that to show that I'm working towards this goal. Let me zoom back out, and I'll put it over here. And I also want to add that to my expert words. Where is it? At risk. Since there is not a lot of water moving in a pond, pollution can be a big problem. Once polluted water gets in, it affects the whole pond. Pollution does not just get washed away. Bacteria and other small animals work hard to keep the pond clean and healthy, but they need oxygen to do the work. Polluted water has less oxygen. When a pond is sick, oxygen at the bottom can go a long way toward making it really healthy again. People can help by aerating the water. People can cut down on pollution too. A little care can go a long way. When people take care of nature, nature will take care of people too. I like that. Pollution can kill a pond quickly. People should do their part in protecting the delicate life of ponds. This feels like a really important fact, so I'm going to make a note and a sticky note and put it in this book here. We are at the last few pages of the book now. We have the lab ant farm. So this is like an activity. Sometimes informational texts have kind of hands-on how to do something at the end. So this one is how to create an ant farm. It says, one of the best ways to learn about cycles in nature is to observe them. Some nature's smallest creatures have the most fascinating lives. Ants, for example, are well organized and work hard all their lives. You can build an ant farm to observe how ants live. Be sure to treat the ants with respect. They are living things after all. So then we see the materials in this section and the procedure, which is like the steps. And then we can see the steps in action, or the steps, some images to match. Cool. Then the last two pages we have a glossary. And we also have an index. So I'm going to check with my expert words and see how much crossover I have here with, because the glossary, that's like the words that the author thinks are expert words. And so I'm going to see what I have. So nutrients, got it. Oxygen, got it. Amphibians, yep. Mammals, Sea level, yeah. Decompose, yep, there it is. Invertebrates, yep. Prey, yes. And algae, no algae. So I found an additional expert word that isn't in the glossary. Now I know that if I want to know any of the meanings of these words, I can just check in the glossary. And then here's a little bit of information about scientists. John Muir, who was born in Scotland and loved nature. As a young man, he began attending the University of Wilderness. He learned by seeing things for himself. He traveled to Yosemite Valley in California to explore nature there. He wanted to protect the valley for the future, so he helped to make a national park. He also helped form the Sierra Club. It is a group devoted to protecting nature. Jessica Diekman is an ecologist. She studies nature and the environment. She especially loves to learn about frogs, lizards, and snakes. She travels a lot to see these creatures in their own environments. She also teaches people how to protect the animals. Jessica does everything she can to protect wildlife now and for the future. Cool. So I could pull out some main idea and details from here. So scientists from the past, scientists from the present, and write some of the details they give about their lives. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That seems important. So here's my main idea. Okay, so I've taken my notes about this last page. I put the main idea and then some of the details in my own words. Now I'm going to go back through and pull out my sticky notes. You know, I think I have enough to put them on the next page because these feel really important. And if I wanted to, I can even add a little tape to make sure they stay in here because these really feel like some important facts that I want to hold on to. And of course, the last thing I want to do is go to my book list and add it here. Today is... I think I'm going to give this like a 3 out of 5. It was a great book, but you know, it didn't like tug at my heartstrings. It wasn't my favorite book of all time. So there you have it. Pawns by Yvonne Franklin. Really, it was a great book, and I learned a ton. So I'm just kind of want to page through my notes I took. Look at all this. In the span of 2 days and like 2 20-minute reading sessions, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 full pages of notes showing my thinking, proving I'm doing the work of a 3rd grade reader, and like just a ton of good facts about ponds. This inspires me, maybe not to learn more about ponds, but I'm really interested in like ecology, and that scientist at the end, Jessica L. Diekman, like she's an ecologist. Maybe I want to learn more about that profession. So maybe that will be the next informational text I read. If you have any suggestions, questions, or comments, please let me know. I will talk to you soon. Bye.